Live from the slightly twisted deck bar, it's the Poojie Podcast with Justin Lemie.
The Poojie Podcast is proudly sponsored by Cimarron Golf Club, located in Jacksonville, Florida, off County Road 210, just west of St. John's Parkway.
What is going on, everybody? Thank you for checking into episode 42 of the Poojie Podcast. If you missed it, episode 41 from earlier this week with former UCF linebacker, current Jacksonville Jaguar linebacker, Nate Evans. Great interview, great person to speak with, just some great insight on life and football in general. So go listen to that, episode 41 with Nate Evans, currently on the Jaguars practice squad, looking to earn his way onto the 53-man roster. Best of luck to him, Mr. Nate Evans over there. I do want to jump into this episode. We do have our NFL Week 1 preview coming up. Going to dive into the Jaguars-Colts matchup on Sunday. We do have a few other matchups we want to talk about, some great games coming up on Sunday. Had a nice game last night with the Chiefs and the Texans. Chiefs winning 34-20, barely hitting that over 53.5, 53.5 points for us, so that was nice to see. You would have seen that on PoojieParlay on Twitter. But I do want to get into something. Speaking of the Chiefs, their breakout star, Clyde Edwards-Helaire last night, first round running back for the Chiefs. The Jaguars, the shoe is on the other foot. We are looking at an undrafted free agent starting on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts, and I know a lot of Jaguar fans are curious as to what to expect. I know I am for sure, but what I will say is this: if there's a position that you should be calm about with an undrafted free agent, it should be running back. Let me read you some of these names real quick that I have here on my phone, and I'll tell you what these guys mean. So we have Brian Westbrook, Lamar Miller, Alfred Morris, Michael Turner, Darren Sproles, Aaron Jones, Chris Carson, Devontae Freeman, and James White. Very recognizable names, all running backs that were drafted late round in the NFL draft, 4th round or beyond. All of those guys have made an impact in the NFL either in their past or currently in the NFL. Now these guys, Priest Holmes, Arian Foster, Philip Lindsay, Austin Eckler, LeGarrette Blount, Fred Jackson, and CJ Anderson. Those guys were all undrafted free agents after the NFL draft that got picked up by teams that made their way onto a roster and made an impact either when they played or currently as Austin Eckler, Philip Lindsay, and so on, undrafted free agents. Now, don't get me wrong, for every one of these guys, one of these gems that they found late in the draft or after the draft, there's 5 or 6 other guys for each one of these guys that fizzled out, didn't amount to anything, careers were cut short, things like that. These are a small sample size of guys that were able to turn their career into something special. And I know that's what Jaguar fans are hoping from James Robinson. If you want, go on YouTube, watch some James Robinson highlights. I work here with a guy that used to work for Western Illinois. Said that James Robinson absolutely tore them to shreds when he was at Illinois State. I know it's an FCS school, but hopefully some of his skills translate to the NFL level. If there's one position I'd be comfortable going into the season with an undrafted starter, it would be running back. I think running back is an adaptable position into the NFL world. I think it's a lot different than offensive line. It's a lot different than receiver. I think the running back position is an okay position to have an undrafted free agent. And based off those names that I read to you, we've seen some success happen. Obviously, we see that all over the field with undrafted guys in other positions, but I feel like at running back, especially in a current situation the Jags are in, I feel like James Robinson could be something special when given the opportunity, which is going to come up in about 2 days from today. So best of luck to James Robinson, hoping to make an impact as an undrafted free agent coming out of Illinois State, giving some love to the FCS level football programs, starting week 1 versus the Colts behind an offensive line that returns all 5 starters from last year and a quarterback going into year 2. So looking forward to that. Best of luck to you, James Robinson. Here's to you, Mr. Robinson. And stay tuned for Poojie Parlay following this interview with my Jaguars panel, Poojie Parlay picks presented by Shores Pub Mandarin, coming up afterward. A lot of sports to get to. But for now, enjoy this episode 42 again with the Jaguars panel, brought to you by Strings Sports Brewery. So enjoy. Thanks. Yes, indeed. Thank you to Strings Sports Brewery, as always, for supporting the podcast. Love what they do over there at Strings Sports Brewery. I know some of this panel hasn't been there yet since some of them are still down in Orlando. Even though they're from the Jacksonville, St. Augustine area, when they get back into Jacksonville, we will have to go check that out as a group, they do a great job over there. But I'm very excited to be recording this episode. I can't wait to release this episode. It's the moment we've all been waiting for as sports fans. We got through COVID quarantine. Things are kind of mellowing out, and sports are finally in full swing. We have the NFL starting tonight, September 10th, with the Texans and the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, who came back from 3 scores down versus the Texans a few months ago to advance to the AFC Championship game. So we'll see if the Chiefs are firing on all cylinders again, but that's what we're going to dive into today. I know so many people around Jacksonville are excited, the nation are excited, and even the world, I'm sure, are excited for what we have going on today in the world of the NFL. I know my dad, even, who hasn't played fantasy football in over 10 years, is doing a fantasy football draft as we speak, getting excited for what he has coming up on the for his fantasy team. So I don't know if he thinks maybe Peyton Manning's still playing, maybe LaDainian Tomlinson's still playing. He might be looking for those guys on his draft board, but he's going to be sadly mistaken. But anyways, I do want to welcome in the panel. We do have Kyle Verbin, Luke Mucci, Sam Leggett, and Jacob Yurtical joining the program. I switched to grid view briefly for a second, but thanks for being here, guys. We'll jump right into it. And Verbin, you're on my screen right now, so if we want to start with you, what game in week 1, obviously we will be getting to the Jags versus the Colts, but what game week 1 are you looking most forward to if it's not that one?
Well, for me, the one that caught my eye for sure was Tom Brady and the Bucs versus Drew Brees and the Saints. I think that's a matchup that everyone loves to see, and it's going to be an awesome week 1 test for this new and improved Bucs team. So we're going to get to see Fournette and his new role there as well. Gronkowski back with Tom Brady as well in a new team. Can they do the same thing that they've been doing for years? So I think that everyone's going to be definitely watching that game and looking forward to seeing what that means for the rest of the league, because this is really going to be the test to see if the Bucs are the real deal or not. And I'm really looking forward to just see who stands out, on both sides of the field there.
Yeah, nothing like starting right out of the gates with one of your hardest tests of the season. Not only are the Saints expected to be one of the better defenses, but obviously their offense is electric. Michael Thomas on the outside. They have Alvin Kamara. Latavius Murray is a great spellback. And, of course,
Traquan Smith,
someone who does not seem to lose a step no matter how old he gets. It's going to be exciting. The first time Tom Brady is in the NFC, of course, spent his last 2 decades with the New England Patriots. Now in the NFC, we'll get to see him playing against Matt Ryan and Drew Brees twice every season, among other great competition throughout the season. The Tampa Bay Gronkaneers. It's going to be exciting. I'm sure some of the Patriot fans out there are not going to enjoy what they're going to do on the field. Let's swing it over to Luke Mucci, who is sporting the same Visca jersey as I am. Luke, if you want to jump in, give me your week 1 game you're looking most forward to.
Give me the Sunday night matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the LA Rams. If you want to talk about offenses, Dallas Cowboys on the paper, they have a great offense. I mean, they got 3 stud receivers with Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and then CD Lamb. Ooh, that looks enticing. Plus Zeke and an offensive line that is still quite potent. I mean, they have a really great offense to match with the LA Rams' competent defense. They just paid Jalen Ramsey a lot of money. So if we want to watch former Jaguars, we can also watch them on the LA Rams. So Sunday night, let's watch some Dallas Cowboys, LA Rams.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one to finish off a full day of football on Sunday. And what better matchup, like you mentioned, for people that are looking for points, but also tough defensive matchups. It's going to be exciting to see if Jared Goff can kind of come out of his slump a little bit and maybe show up on offense for the Rams. But it's also going to be interesting to see what Aaron Donald brings to the table, what Jalen Ramsey brings to the table now that he has that contract. Will he miss a beat? Will he miss a step against one of the best offensive weapon teams in the league in the Dallas Cowboys? I'm surely looking forward to it. You mentioned CD Lamb there. He was a receiver in the draft that I know some of the Jaguar fans were maybe looking to target with that second first-round pick. But the Cowboys figured, why not? It's an embarrassment of riches there on the offensive side of the ball for them. They paid Dak Prescott a lot of money, and Dak Prescott has tons of weapons to have fun with. Sam Leggett, we're going to swing it over to you looking like a geography teacher there in your Hawaiian shirt with the map behind you. But I know with all that geography there, you got a map of the United States. Where is your head taking you in the Week 1 NFL matchups?
So for us guys, we're going to go up north here. We're going to go to NFC, division rivalry between the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. Might not be a game everyone's thinking about, but I think it's a very good test for a brand new Washington team to take on a division rival. So the front four for Washington, 4 first-rounders, all coming after Carson Wentz, and that kind of shaky offensive line, maybe not as sturdy as it's been, the past couple seasons. So we'll see that. That'll be nice to watch with them. The main matchup with them I'm looking at, though, is Scary Terry McLaurin versus newly acquired cornerback Darius Slay. Let's see if Scary Terry can keep taking care of those number one corners on the opposite team.
Yeah, like you mentioned, a very underrated matchup. When you said going up north, I thought you were going to say Vikings-Packers because that's another good game on the docket there in the NFC North. But this one, very intriguing as well. A lot of uncertainty. Is Carson Wentz going to be able to stay healthy? What are the Eagles going to do out of the backfield in Philadelphia this season? Their offensive line, as you mentioned, used to be right up there with the Cowboys as far as consistency went and eliteness went. They've taken a step back. Is Carson Wentz going to be able to get the job done in a game that everyone believes that the Eagles should win no matter what? I'll tell you this much. In my Survivor League, Deadpool NFL league for this week, I was looking at the Eagles, and after looking at the matchup more, I don't want to touch that one. I'm a little nervous. That should be a close game. Hopefully, for the sake of the NFL, it is a close game. And the first game for the Washington football team, WFT, we'll see if they're going to be able to pull out the stops for Washington to get that win. Jacob, last but not least, week 1 NFL game you're looking forward to most.
This may or may not have to do with fantasy, but I'm looking for the NFC West Cardinals 49ers matchup. I'm really curious to see how does Kyler Murray potentially break out in year 2, and he's coming out with a huge matchup against arguably the best defense in the league. They just won the Super Bowl. This guy, I was looking at the stats. He ran around for 34 and then 67 yards against the 49ers last year. Can his second year, his experience propel him into potentially upsetting the 49ers week 1? He's got Hopkins, he's got Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald still. I think the matchup between Kyler Murray and that really amazing defense on the 49ers side is a huge matchup. And we're seeing Hopkins against Sherman. Sherman's one of the top corners, but now he's got, the one of the most elite receivers to go against. So I think that matchup as a whole is going to be very interesting, particularly to see Kyler Murray and how he breaks out in year 2.
Yeah, it seemed like the Cardinals and Cliff Kingsbury, among others, tried to do what they could to surround Kyler Murray with the pieces for him to succeed, which I know here in Jacksonville we kind of would hope to see a little bit more over the last half decade or so. But going out and getting DeAndre Hopkins and what seemed like a trade that the Cardinals won far and away, getting rid of David Johnson to the Texans, it will be fun to watch that. It's like similar to the Tom Brady Saints game. Talk about just an extremely tough matchup to start the season with after limited offseason preparation. Are the 49ers going to come out and be that same team? I think a lot of people are fully expecting it. I think the 49ers started off pretty hot last year with the New England Patriots. Both those teams were 8-1 right around the midway point. Will the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo be able to do enough on offense to kind of win games and score more points than the other team? But we are talking about points, and I want to talk about tonight's game, which I think a lot of us think there'll be an embarrassment of points in tonight's game with the Chiefs versus the Texans. We saw last year in the AFC divisional round, I believe it was. Is that correct, guys? The AFC divisional round, Texans-Chiefs, right? Texans-Bills was the wild card, and then Texans-Chiefs was the divisional. There was a ton of points scored there. The Chiefs stormed back from 3 scores down. We'll see what happens tonight. The game I'm looking forward to most is going to be the Seahawks versus the Falcons, simply because I feel like for the last 5 years, so many people have tried to buy me into the Falcons and what they've been able to do. Dante Fowler is there on the end. He'll be starting, and he'll be getting a lot of pass rush opportunities. We'll see what they're able to do on the offensive side of the ball with, Devontae Freeman's departure, but bringing in Todd Gurley from the Rams and obviously Calvin Ridley as well as Julio Jones. You can't forget about those guys. So some great week 1 matchups among other ones: Vikings versus the Packers, the Bears versus the Lions. But the one I know we're here to talk about, the Jaguars versus the Colts, may be last on everyone else's list as far as intrigue to watch. But we're intrigued to watch, being we are here in Jacksonville. I'm going to open this up full panel real quick, and we'll just kind of go around the horn in the same order. We'll start with Vervin, just kind of one or two things that you're looking at in this Jags-Colts matchup here on Sunday.
Yeah, I think the first thing you look to is the new and improved Jags offense. I know we grabbed a couple different pieces there. Obviously not going to have the same guy at running back that we've had the past couple seasons here. So how is that going to change things of how we move forward? So I think Laviska Shenault, like you got the jerseys on here, and Colin Johnson apparently doing really well in the training camp here too. I think that they're going to be guys that a lot of teams overlook, at least in the first couple weeks. So we're looking to surprise some people. I want to see Tyler Eifert fit in there right away. So I think there's a lot of positives that we can use moving forward on the offense, and I hope Gardner Minshew does well with them. So
we're looking at the pass game beyond the line of scrimmage here. I'm tired of seeing the dump offs. I'm tired of seeing the swing plays. There was plenty of that. And I know what my dad's not looking forward to, first down runs. That's the one thing he hates. Air it out on first down, get some yards. What's the difference between 2nd and 9 and 2nd and 10? Throw the ball on first down. Let's get this ball out of Minshew's hand and have some fun. Luke, let's go up to you real quick. What are you looking at week 1 for the Jags Colts?
I want to see how the newly acquired Phillip Rivers plays against the Jaguars. He's had our number for years. I don't know if it was because he was strictly on the West Coast, or maybe he has our playbook, or what's going on, but Phillip Rivers usually does a number to us, even though we won back in 2017 in overtime. So I'm hoping our young defense, new draft picks, can come in and shut him down and keep that Colts offense.
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous myself about that. I don't have the best memories of watching Phillip Rivers against the Jags. I'm not too sure if he's even lost a game against the Jags, maybe once, if any, in his time. Yeah, it was one time, actually. I think 2 seasons ago, maybe this past season.
It was the season where we went to the playoffs because we beat him in overtime.
Didn't we pick him off like 5 times that game?
It was a botched ending to the game for Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. An embarrassing ending to the game. They had an interception that could have ended the game for the Chargers, and they somehow turned it back over to the Jags, and Jags ended up with the victory there. Vervin, earlier you missed Fournette getting cut, or you mentioned Fournette getting cut. Yannick Ngakoue trade, obviously. Ronnie Harrison getting traded. So many things have happened this close to the season. Not many other teams deal with this type of adversity so close to the season. So those are just 2 points I wanted to mention as well before going to Sam. Sam, if you want to jump in, what's the one thing you're looking forward to right now, Jags Colts on Sunday?
I mean, I think Kyle mentioned it perfectly. Our revamped offense. You might say, whoa, hold up, revamped? We just lost our number 1 running back, Leonard Fournette. But what you fail to mention is that we've retained all 5 of our starting O-line. We got a new offensive coordinator, and we got a first-round graded wide receiver in Laviska Shenault. I think that's going to be a big thing coming up on Sunday. Another thing I want to see, our revamped run defense stopping both Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, the run defense, obviously, very skeptical. If there's one weak part of our team, I would say it's probably run defense, considering last season we weren't the best at it, and we've only lost pieces on the defensive line over the last 2 months. So I'm excited to see Taven Bryan step in, see what he can do, see what Dwayne Smoot can do with some extra time on the defensive line. And obviously loading up at linebacker with Joe Schobert and Miles Jack moving back to the outside. Losing Quincy Williams to the IR, a big hit there. But on the defensive side of the ball, what is this team going to be without some defensive linemen in place that we've had in the past? So I agree there. The running game for the Colts could pop off. We just need to keep them in check. But Jacob, let's go over to you. What do you got to say for this week 1 matchup?
Well, I know everybody, so far everybody on the panel and every fan is going to look at the offense. But as Sam brought up right before he finished, the defense is really what I'm looking for. I'm expecting the offense to improve. I'm expecting them to take a jump. And if not, that's awful. But I want to see how this defense responds after losing all of the players it's lost over the last few years and the last couple seasons. I'm actually really curious in 2 specific areas. One, the defensive ends in Allen and Chason. To me, Chason almost looks like an identical clone to Allen, which is kind of exciting. I think Allen's going to have a jump, and hopefully he's in Chason's ear to help him out. And we're playing Phillip Rivers, who's not necessarily, a speedster. So if these guys can just pin their ears back and get at it, who knows what can happen. And then what I'm really also looking forward to is the corners, because we have C.J. Henderson, a first-round pick, who will be making his first start against one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in our lifetime, and Herndon, who played well in Ramsey's absence. So let's see if he can also step it up in year two. And I honestly have a little bit of high hopes for the defense compared to other people. I think they'll be a little more middle pack than some people give them credit for. But those two areas, defensive end and corner, is really where I'm going to be looking.
And those are positions that for the last 2 or 3 years, the Jaguar fans felt most comfortable about. And now here we are 3 days before the season. You lose A.J. Boye, UCF alum. You lose Jalen Ramsey, superstar diva, now in L.A. You lose Yannick Ngakoue. You lose Malik Jackson. You lose Marcel Darius. You lose all these guys that were a part of that magical 2017 AFC Championship run. And now here we are talking about Henderson, Herndon, DJ Hayden, with Miles Jack being the only one on defense that started with Avery Jones as the other one still on the team from that 2017 season. It's going to be fun to watch. I think you have to go into this season with an open mindset of we are looking for improvement and we are looking for pieces that can be here long term. I think that's what the front office is doing. They kept 16 rookies on the 53-man roster. I think they're looking for guys that are going to contribute long term, and they understand now is not the time to give fat contracts out to players. Now is not the time to have veteran guys taking up starting time from the rookies. They want to see these young guys get in there and get after it, because the only way that you can get better is iron sharpening iron and getting your feet wet in this league. So I'm looking forward to it. A lot of young talent on this team. A lot of people are overlooking this team. And last but not least, I need some predictions from you guys. Verbin, we'll start with you. Prediction for week 1.
All right. My hot take for week 1 comes with a lot of bias, but I'm looking towards that Bills-Jets matchup. And I know that they got a shiny new receiver in Stephon Diggs, but I'm going to tell you the person they're going to come away talking about from that game is Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis has been consistently impressing in all of the training camp days. He's been going against their number 1 corners, making them look silly. I've seen nonstop videos coming out of that camp about how excited they are about him. And I think that he's one of their best kept secrets right now for, matchup wise. I don't think anyone's expecting him to come out and do a lot in the first match. But I honestly think that he's going to take the top off, and I could end up scoring a touchdown here. So, obviously we saw what he could do at UCF, but I'm looking for big things from him this year.
And what about your prediction for week 1, Jags Colts score? Who's going to win?
Oh man, I'll say 24-17. I'm gonna take the Jags on that one. I think it's going to be a decently high scoring game, but I'm hoping we can hold the running backs and the other team to a minimum. So we'll see.
And I like your prediction there for Gabe Davis too. Obviously, got to give love to the UCF guy who has been impressing, a 4th-round receiver. Obviously, all of us down at UCF knew he was definitely better than that, but the exposure wasn't there. Hopefully, he steps onto the field and performs day 1. I know they just cut another receiver on their roster that was slotted to start in front of him. He must be doing something right, moving up the depth chart nicely before he even steps foot on the field in a shortened, wonky offseason. So a good prediction there, 24-17 Jags from Verbin. Luke, what say you, bro?
I'm going to take 24-14. Colts take it. I'm going to tamper my expectations until we see it on the field. I'm so used to run, pass, punt. Maybe this time we're just pass, run, punt. I don't know. But I'm going to wait until we see what our offense looks like before I take us winning against the Colts, who are supposed to take our division. So 24-14. And for a pick for the week, I think Henry Ruggs is going to be a top 10 receiver in fantasy this week. Henry Ruggs out in Las Vegas. He's going to put the burners on, and he's got a lot of catches coming his way.
Nice. So you said 24-14 Colts, correct? All right. We'll remember that on Monday when the Jags come out victorious. Sam, what about you, bro?
So I got 31-20 Jags. You might think that's kind of a big spread. However, everybody's seen the stats about Indianapolis playing in Jacksonville and their stats on week 1 wins. I think that's a highly winnable game for Gardner Minshew to start his ascendance into top 10, top 5 quarterback in the league. So that's what I think is going to happen with the Jags. Big prediction as far as the league goes. I like this James Robinson kid. More that I learn about him, more that I hear, it might all be coach speak. But hey, if the kid's got good vision and we give him the opportunities near the goal line, I think he can score some touchdowns for us.
Nice. All right, big victory there for the Jags. From what you say, I'm sure James Robinson would have a large part to do with that. And Jacob, last but not least, you.
So I'm definitely picking the Jags to win, and I'll tell you why. I don't want to give the exact year because I don't know it off the top of my head, but I don't really know the last time the Colts have won in Jacksonville recently. They're a tough division opponent, but we seem to have their number. I'm going to go 27-24, and here's my hot take of the week. I think C.J. Henderson, someone that not everyone is really sure about, especially coming from Florida as a Jaguar pick, I think he's picking off Rivers twice this game. And I know that's hot, but I really believe in this kid, and I think they're going to test him, and they're going to fail.
Well, I like that. That's a big one there. So I'm going to have to say I'm also going to take the Jags. So, Luke, you are by yourself over there picking the Colts. You might as well move to Indianapolis. Get out of Duval. Go back to Cincinnati.
He's probably a smart man.
But no, I take the Jags. I'm going to take the Jags 24-20. Did anyone else take that prediction, 24-20? No. Okay, so 24-20 Jags. I think Josh Lambo gets a field goal in there, among other things. I think Gardner Minshew has all 3 touchdowns. I think the passing game is going to come alive. And something else I saw recently, the Colts have 3 starting offensive line, Costanzo, you have Nelson, and Kelly. All 3 starting offensive linemen are injured and did not practice today. Now, I don't know if that's a smokescreen, but that could change their game plan a lot. My hot take for the Jags game, and I'm going to be a little selfish here, we saw a few years ago the Jags put up 10 sacks in week 1 against the Texans, obviously not going against Deshaun Watson. I think the Jags rack up 7 sacks week 1 this week against the Colts. Phillip Rivers is not mobile. I think they're going to have a lot of pressure coming off the edge. I think because those guys are injured on the offensive line, they won't be running the ball as much, and we will be able to get a lot of interior pressure up the middle from a newly tooled Taven Bryan and a guy, Dwayne Smoot, who has a lot of talent, a lot of playing time in his first 4 years in the NFL. So I say 7 sacks. My league-wide hot take, DK Metcalf puts up 2 touchdowns and over 125 yards for the Seahawks in week 1, and Russell Wilson puts up over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Falcons. I think that is just a favorable matchup for the Seahawks. I don't think the Falcons have too much secondary help on the defensive side of the ball. So those are my hot takes. Anything else from you guys before we wrap up here regarding week 1 of the NFL, where your excitement levels are?
I do kind of want to go back because I gave my hot take for the Jags game, but my overall hot take for the league, I brought it up in what matchup I was looking forward to, the 49ers-Cardinals. I know the defense of the 49ers is amazing. That team's favored by a touchdown, but I think Kyler Murray shows off that year 2 for him, just like Mahomes, just like Lamar. He's going to be one of the top quarterbacks this year. He's going to lead that team to a win. I think he's going to score at least 3 times, maybe once on the ground, twice through the air. But I think Kyler Murray comes in and upsets the 49ers this week.
Let's do it. It's another year where the Jags are being counted out consistently. So all we can do is go up from here. So I'm ready for it.
Here's a good question. What are we looking at in the Dolphins-Patriots game? Well, the Dolphins seem to have the Patriots number over the last few seasons. They've gotten some victories even when Tom Brady was at the helm. Anyone got anything about that game briefly?
Yeah, there's a lot of ex-Patriots players now on the Dolphins roster. So, I mean, we'll just have to see if Belichick can plan around that. But, I mean, the Dolphins going up to New England never really works out for them well. So, I think the New England running backs and Cam Newton are going to have quite a few rushing touchdowns in that one. But we'll see. We'll see, man. We'll see.
Well, there we have it, guys. Thank you for doing this. Thanks for being here. I mean, I at least have you on record with your predictions, so we'll have to recap this for our Week 2 show for the Jaguars and everything. So thanks again for doing this. Continue to check out the NFL games this weekend. Come with some good points for next week, and I'm sure we're all going to be watching tonight for some fantasy numbers and just to watch some NFL football after a long-awaited offseason with no preseason football. You don't realize how much you miss the preseason until you don't have it, and you have to wait a whole month later to watch actual football. So, again, guys, thanks for doing this. So thank you to String Sports Brewery, of course, for helping support us, bringing us that interview with the panel, Sam, Luke, Verbin, and Jacob. Thank you to you four for jumping on and taking the time to do that. That was a lot of fun to talk about what's coming up this week in the NFL. And starting with the NFL last night, like I mentioned earlier, Texans losing to the Chiefs 34-20. No one really expected anything different. Patrick Mahomes looked pretty good, 3 touchdowns there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, over 130 yards rushing, looked good. Pretty much what was expected in that game. If you followed PoojieParlay on Twitter, I gave you the over 53. That hit with that last-second field goal by the Chiefs. Got the score up to 54 points. And I apologize. I posted plus 10 for Houston. I ended up doing some research, recalculating. I took on my personal slips Kansas City minus 9.5. And that hit. Obviously, they won by 14. So I apologize to my followers out there. Please stay true and stick with me. I will get those corrected as the season unfolds. Elsewhere, golf currently in the second round of the Safeway Open out in California. We get some primetime golf back here on the East Coast. I like it. First tournament of the season. I know the Tour Championship just ended last week. We have the U.S. Open coming up this next week. This is a weaker field, but the scores are low. If you are a fan of golf for the scoring, this is the tournament to watch. The guys are right around 12 under right now, halfway through on round 2. Cut line is at 3 under. We'll see what happens there. In the NBA world, tonight, Game 7. Nothing like a Game 7 in any sport, but basketball tonight, Celtics, Toronto Raptors. Game 7 series is tied 3-3. I selfishly want the Celtics to win. Give me some Taco Fall love there. Let's get Taco Fall into the Eastern Conference Finals against the Heat. That would be a lot of fun to watch. As for the Western Conference, both LA teams, Clippers over the Nuggets 3-1, Lakers over the Rockets 3-1 in that series. LeBron James playing out of his mind, looking like the LeBron of old. Or did he ever go anywhere? Who knows? LeBron is just an animal, unhuman-like guy. So those are the NBA updates. In the NHL, the Stars beat the Knights 3-2 yesterday in overtime. That series is currently at 2-1 in favor of the Stars. In the Eastern Conference, Lightning up 2-0 after a gritty win, 2-1 with 7 seconds left in the game by Nikita Kucherov, scoring a last-second goal against the Islanders. Heartbreaking for the Islanders. Do I care? No, I am a Lightning fan. Game 3 is tonight. I hope we can really just close out this series in the next few days. Game 3 tonight. Game 4 will be on Sunday at 3. So that's the hockey world. Baseball, really difficult to keep updated on. However, when it does get to the playoffs, it will be easier for me to kind of break down the series. I look forward to getting back with the baseball panel to kind of go over the playoffs when those come around. But for now, those are the sports updates. Follow Poojie Parlay on Twitter for all the picks that I put out weekly, daily, nightly, whatever you want. I'll put some stuff out there throughout the week. Poojie Parlay on Twitter. And also follow us, the Poojie Podcast, on Instagram to see some great content there on the Instagram page. Subscribe, notifications on this YouTube channel. If you're listening on Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, if you want to check out the video elements, go to YouTube. If you're watching, be sure to check us out on the streaming platforms for the podcast to listen on the go, in the car, at the gym, wherever you're at. We always have the good stuff coming to you. Until next time, thanks for listening. Enjoy your weekend and focus on making the world a better place. Thanks.